everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have another fun Halloween card to share with you today. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's Ghost Face stamp set, Halloween Candies Grid Style stamp set, the Ghostly Greetings outline dies and stamp set, Gnome Dies Spooky Add-ons, Gnome Friends Ghost dies, and the hot air balloons from Jaded Blossom. There we go. I'm also using the Sweet and Spooky 6-inch pad and the matching odds and ends from Doodlebug, along with Sweet and Spooky 12-inch paper pad. So first of all, I'm going to start by stamping my sentiment Ghostly Greetings onto some Paper Tray ink white cardstock using my Misty and some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. All my die cutting today was done with my Anna Griffin Empress machine, working on a Stampin' Up! Pad, all the things I always do. Okay, so I'm stamping this sentiment twice, just to make sure I get a good image. There we go. Next, I'm going to stamp a little face onto my ghosty. So the ghost was cut out of Paper Tray ink white cardstock. And I'm going to stamp in that same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. There we are. I just think it is too cute, right? So I'm taking some EK Success chalk and giving it some cheeks, because of course our little ghosty would have some cheeks, right? And I'm using my Secure White Jelly Roll pen and a number 10 to add, of course, some little freckles on those cheeks, because why not, right? There we go. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to cut out my little sentiment with the outline dies. These are really handy, using my mini Empress there. I have this sitting next to my desk, well, kind of on my desk beside where I film these videos. So I cut that out. And now I'm going to do some assembling. So first I'm assembling a really cute little ghost balloon, cut out of Paper Tray ink white cardstock, and then again out of American Crafts black cardstock for the string. There we go, just making sure things are lined up, and I do weight it down with an acrylic block. Whoops, off to the side there. And next, I have a little hat. I completely forgot to mention that I did use, what's it called? I used Jaded Blossom's Gnome dies for that hat. And I inked around the edge with some Distress ink and black soot. So I'm adding on a little bow that was put together using gingham linen from Doodlebug. Now I'm going to put together my hot air balloon. First, I cut it out of American Crafts black cardstock, just for the main base piece. And then I'm just using some pattern paper from Doodlebug's Sweet and Spooky, just for the two bands. I'm going to leave the basket as is. I'm not adding any other layers. And then I'm going to add on some paper from that Sweet and Spooky 6-inch pad from Doodlebug. So just alternating patterns. I just find that's the funnest way to do it. So there we are. I'm going to add in all my stripes using my Bearly Art glue, my reverse tweezers. And I just think this is super cute. This hot air balloon die, you can make all different seasons of cards with this. So I'm trying to do my best and make them for all the different seasons and different occasions, because I just think that this is a real versatile set. There we go. So I'm adding on all of my little stripes, and then we'll get to business assembling this card here in a moment. So there is my really cute Halloween balloon, and I do weight it down. So first I'm going to add a 1-inch strip to the inside of my card base. There, I'm just going to add that inside. So that is just, from the Doodlebug paper again. And then, like I always say, I like to decorate the inside of my card to kind of match what's going on the outside. So I've got a little ghosty house to add on the inside. I'm going to use that acetate tree as well. I'm going to stick that behind. I might as well use it, right? It's in that odds and ends package. I'm going to add a little bit more of the ATG tape over top of just where the acetate tree overlaps, so you don't see my tape. there. So I'm cutting off the overhang with a pair of scissors. I have 3 little stars as well as this little ghosty to add. So I just think this is too cute. There we go. And then I will add on some stars as well, because why not? In these packages of ephemera from from Doodlebug, they always have some sort of smaller pieces, whether it be hearts or stars or whatever, and I just find them really handy to use on the inside of your card. It just adds a little something something. So I'm adding on these little twinkles and stars to my little background, and there we go. Okay, so I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the inside. I'm using my Misty and some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. There we go, and I'm using this sentiment, Happy Halloween. So this is the Halloween Candies grid style stamp set. So I'll stamp that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. So there we go. Now on the outside, I'm using this Sweet and Spooky 12-inch from Doodlebug, and I'm going to use a piece of paper cut at the same size as my A2 size card base, so 4.25 by 5.5 inches. And I'm just going to line that up. So it's got a fun kind of tealish blue sort of cobweb print. So that will be my background. I'm going to slip my little ghost in. Isn't that cute? And I'm just going to add on some glue on the back of this little ghosty. There we are. And I do weight it down with an acrylic block to make sure it glues down flat. And it just helps to be able to, oops, sorry, hit my camera. It just helps that, you know, you can basically stick this guy down as a unit. So I'm going to add on this ghosty's little flipper arms. That's what I call them. I guess they're points of the sheet, whatever. And I'm going to have this ghost holding a ghost balloon because of course you would, right? As a ghost. So I'm just going to pop that little ghost up using leftover pieces from my Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. And there we go. And I will peel off that backing in a second here. I know I kind of overdo it with the dimensionals, but I really like things not to get dented or, you know, look all wonky in the mail. So I do tend to load up my stuff with dimensionals. So I'm going to add that on, and isn't that cute? And now I'm going to use a little mini dimensional, and then I'm going to use the little hand piece for the ghost. It's kind of this little rounded triangle. I've got a nail sponge just to get the little hangers on off that die cut. And there we go. So next I'm going to use my ATG tape. This has like 1/4-inch ATG tape in it. So I'm just going to cover the whole thing. And I'll add a little bit of glue in some of the places that, you know, that I didn't get. There. And then I'm going to add on my little hot air balloon, my little ghosty Redding in a hot air balloon. It's kind of redundant, right? Because can't ghosts just fly around on their own? At least that's what we've been led to believe, right? That they just kind of fly by themselves. They don't really need like vehicles to take them places, but whatever, it's cute. So next I'm going to add this little sentiment to my card front. I'm going to use a couple of these mini dimensionals on the one side. And then I will add on some, there we go. I'm going to add this on to the back of my sentiment. Just getting the hangers on off. There we go. I'm going to line that up. Nope. Then I realize I've made a mistake somewhere, that I used the wrong die this time. But what I do is I just end up trimming down the edges a little bit, and I made it work there. So that way, whoops, that way I can overlap the little basket a bit. So it says Ghostly Greetings. Just trying to make sure it's straight. And I'll use my reverse tweezers to hold that. Next, I'm going to use some shape sprinkles. These are called Hocus Pocus. They're just little stars. And I'm going to use the orange ones just to add a few little stars. Remember, visual triangles, you know, odd numbers. These are all your friends when it comes to making these type of cards and using, you know, these little shape sprinkles. I'm going to add a little circle to the center of the bow in orange. And there we go. Isn't it cute? Oh my goodness, just adorable stuff. On the inside, I'm going to use my Sakura white Jelly Roll pen in a number 10 to add some highlights. And then I'm going to use my black glaze pen just to tap all the eyes for this little background piece or inside piece, right? But remember, you're going to want to let this dry because it will smear. You don't want that. That would be bad after all the work you've done, right? Getting this little card put together. But there we go. I just think it's cute. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jada Blossom blog, be inspired by the team, the Jada Blossom store to get your hands on these amazing products. And thanks as always for watching my video. I really appreciate it. Bye everybody.